question was, should we pursue happiness? And he said, well, what do you mean by happiness? Because there's a happiness based on the here and the now. If I get the money, if I get the trip, if I get the likes on social media, if I get all of these other social things that puff me up, then he labeled that as something called hedonism. And he said, like, that hedonistic perspective, although it's really popular in the West, it's just kind of like playing a rigged carnival game. You think you're going to get good at it, and then it just doesn't ever come together. So I just need to play this game better, and it falls apart. It doesn't work. But he used this term, and I thought about it and it was like a year. Is this technical term? I was like Googling it and all this other type of stuff. It's really what got me down the PhD thought train. He called it eudaimonia. And I was like, what is that? I don't even know how to spell that to Google it.
I haven't heard that. And
yeah.
I'm, done a lot of acts for.
We'll put a link to the video somewhere in the YouTube channel or something. I don't know what to do. Get the producers to figure that out. Okay. But he talked about, like, is this Greek term, and he said, when your life lines up, when your behaviors and your values are congruent, that's how he defined eudaimonia. And it was like a year, I was like, how is that not in the Bible? The word eudaimonia is not in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like, that's, and it took me a year, and I thought about it, though, like, that word is in the Bible. They just don't call it eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia.
Yeah, E-U-D, I don't know how to spell it. Somebody else.
It's a good word.
Yeah. But it's just righteousness.
Yeah, so say this is when your life and your beliefs and values line up.
Yeah, if you're living your life incongruent with your values, if you're compromising your values, if you're trying to obtain all these worldly things and you got to cheat a little in your income tax, if you to get the friends or whatever, or you're scared of saying something, thinking about things that make people scared nowadays, right?
Yeah.
The suppression of free speech and stuff, that contributes somewhat to it. But if there's that incongruency, you're not going to feel happiness. And to use a biblical term, if we are living in righteousness, if our values and behaviors line up in the right manner, if that was our definition of happiness, now that's a paradigm shift, then I just told him, like, well, I'm going to study this more.
Yeah, and that's pretty in-depth psychological, but if you listen to people at CCA, we're going to talk about ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy. It's a clinical theory that guides our practice, and we selected that that we could completely train people from a Christian worldview that takes all of the traditions of Christianity and how people heal and grow. And it's studied in the field of psychology. And there's many parallels. There's places where with the secular part of that, we would disagree because it's infused with secular progressive values. But there's a lot of it that we have been able to adapt. And you're allowed to do that as a professional counselor, and so that's what we bring to the public. So if I was to take 2 minutes and to describe, and we could talk about that forever and forevermore, but righteousness, beliefs and life matching up, if that was the definition that we would have for happiness. Wow. And so what we find is
Isn't there something traditional about that, though? Like, I feel like
absolutely.
That should be like a John Wayne quote, or, like that should be on Little House on the Prairie or something like that. Like, so you talked about, like, those differences that those people have, well, is this newer idea and this newer model that we're getting because we've got enough prosperity. We play the rigged game pretty well. We get away with it a lot in this culture. And so why is this culture really struggling with mental health?
Yeah.
Because we don't conceptualize one of the basic components of mental health. We're not even looking at it in the right direction to find it. We want to find it from our environment, not from, well, hey, I'm happy with how I lived my life. If I looked at happiness, I'm really content with how I live my life.
There's a lot of ways we could sort of jump the track, and we think that we're on the right one because, prosperity, wealth, for a while can fool you into, like, I'm feeling good, I'm doing good, look at all the stuff I have, and you get to the end of it and you find out that you're poor